The problem with children being trapped on the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder, even being trapped in the middle of the socioeconomic ladder, is a regional problem, and it's a regional problem that hits this area especially hard. That's what really bothers me about this, is that it's not like everywhere the American dream is struggling. Not every place in America it's struggling. It's struggling in the places that I care most about. It's struggling in places like southwestern Ohio, like northeastern Ohio. It's struggling for children who grow up in eastern Kentucky and children who grow up in inner city Cleveland. That is the locus of this problem, and we have to admit that it's a problem, and we have to try to understand it. Now, my effort to understand it was this book, and as I looked at the literature, it occurred to me that there was fundamentally something going on in the way that a lot of people talked about the problem. There was a very ideological approach to talking about why is it that so many poor children are trapped on the bottom. Now, if you were a Democrat, you might say that this is fundamentally a structural problem, that there aren't enough economic opportunities for these groups of Americans, that unless we do more either through public institutions or through economic opportunities, we're never going to solve that problem. And if you were on the right, you might look at the families that grew up like mine did. You might look at children who grow up in circumstances like I did and say those people aren't making especially good choices, that they can't do better unless they start doing more for themselves. And frankly, when I saw that debate unfolding and when I really dived into it myself, it occurred to me that there was some important element of truth to each side of the story. It is definitely true that families like mine make choices that to the outside seem irrational, and it's certainly true that without more economic opportunity and without better public policy, we're not going to be able to solve the problems that I write about in the book. But I also thought that they missed those very ideological diagnoses of the problem, missed something very important. They missed the fact, in a nutshell, that the life of a community is not the state or the individual, that the life of a community is very often everything that exists in the middle of it. It's businesses and unions and civic institutions. It's Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. It's community groups like churches. And of course, it's families, mom and dad, but also the grandparents, the aunts and the uncles, and so forth. And that if you don't understand what's happening at the level of these mediating institutions, then you're going to fundamentally miss something that's going on in the lives of kids who grow up like I did. And so that's what I tried to write a book to understand. I wanted people to really get the fact that these problems are complicated, that they implicate not just one political movement or one political ideology, but they implicate, and I think should challenge, all sides of the political spectrum. But importantly, if we don't appreciate what's really going on in the lives of these people, then we're never actually going to answer the questions that help us solve the problem that most bothers me, which is that in certain areas of the country, we have a real problem with the American dream.